Edwards said, "I will take you home in our carriage." Mrs. Edwards bundled me up in an extra blanket. "Thank you, ma'am," I said, pulling it tight around my face. "Do be careful," she told Mr. Edwards as he tied a scarf over his nose and mouth. He nodded, and we were off. It was the first time I have ridden in such a fancy carriage, and it was exciting in spite of the blizzard. The lantern danced on its high pole, and the wick blew out. Mr. Edwards did not try to relight it, since it was not helping much anyway. The street lights lit our way through Lorium and Red Jacket, but the road to Swedetown was pitch as black as pitch. We were lucky that another wagon was ahead of us. We stayed right in its track. "You'll never get the carriage up the hill at Bridge Street," I said. "Drop me off at the bottom. You can turn easily there, and it's only a few blocks up to my house. I can make it home all right. You can follow your own track back to Red Jacket." "Are you sure?" "Yes." "All right, then. If the weather doesn't break by tomorrow evening, don't try to come back. Stay at home until the storm ends." "Thank you," I said, and turned into the night. I walked up the hill backwards so the wind would not be in my face. Mama and Papa were very glad to see me when I came in the door. I told them about my carriage ride while I drank hot milk and warmed myself by the kitchen stove. The fire is nearly out now, and I can barely see. Mama is ready to put our hot coals in the bed warmer, so we will be warm all night. Sunday, November 9th. Snow was still falling fast this morning. We did not even try to go to church. Papa read from the Bible, and we said our prayers at home. There was enough to eat at dinner. The WFM finally came through on its promise to help our men. But instead of cash payments, they gave out coupons to spend at the Union Commissary. Papa said everybody was upset about that. He and Mama like to shop at the Finnish stores to support our own. He heard the men out at Wolverine were upset because they have a co-op and could not spend their coupons there. Mama reminded him that this help was better than nothing, especially since her rag rugs are not selling so well. Too many women are trying to do the same thing. She used all Papa and Yago's shares to buy flour, lard, candles, and some almost as good as new shoes for all of us. The storm finally stopped in the afternoon. The sun shone so bright it almost hurt my eyes. We older children met in the field below our house, where we played stickball all summer, and we had a grand snowball fight. I got hit by several, but it didn't hurt. I hit lots of the others with my snowballs, too. When it came time for me to head back to Mr. Edwards' house, Papa brought me an extra pair of his wool socks. "Put these on over your shoes," he said. It will help your feet warmer. It will help keep your feet warmer. I'm sorry we could not get galoshes to wear in the snow. The snow stuck to the socks, but my feet were warmer. "The shoes are just as good," I said. Thursday, November 13th. Is everyone truly against us? This week, the Calumet News printed a membership form for something called the Citizens Alliance. The membership pledge said they believe that the WFM are all agitators and that they have forced themselves upon our community long enough. The pledge also said the union has attacked people, spread the poison of socialism, violence, and fear, and has not paid attention to the law. It urged good citizens to become active against the strike. All week, the Calumet News and the Daily Mining Gazette have said everything evil about people like my father. The Miners' Bulletin, Truth, calls the other papers liars. I try so hard to sort out what is true, but I feel lost inside. If that was not enough, Big Annie was convicted of assault in court Monday. Even though she only served a few days in jail, it was like a slap in the face to all of us. People against the strike have committed assault too, but none of them have been arrested and jailed. It is all so unfair. It seems like everyone on both sides is yelling so loudly they cannot even hear themselves. I wish I could put my hands over my ears and scream at everyone. Be quiet and listen. But they probably would not hear me either. This evening when Mr. Edwards came home, he slipped something white into his coat pocket. When I hung his coat in the closet for him, I put my hand in to see what it was. It was his Citizens Alliance button. I said nothing. I suppose he must join to keep his regular customers. The union people he was selling to at a discount must shop at the Union Commissary now, so business has dropped a bit. but seeing it still hurt. Sunday, November 16th. Last night after I got home, I heard Papa tell Mama that he heard the Mohawk Mining Company had threatened to evict people from their company houses if the rent was not paid. Do you think CNH will do that? I heard Mama ask. I hope not, Papa said. I hate to see Emma working. I wish she had stayed in school, but she makes just enough to keep our rent paid. I'm thankful for that. Somehow my bed felt warmer, even though Yenny, Katrie, and I were huddled together and shivering. After church this morning, Papa decided to write a letter to the paper saying not all union men are socialists. He wrote it in Finnish and asked me to translate it for him. Here is what he said. I am on strike, but I am not a socialist. I am a hardworking man trying to provide for my family. I am not a violent man. Please believe WFM members are not bad people. Most of them are like me. We just want something better for our families. That is why we came to this country. Joseph Niemi, Swedetown. When I finished the translation, I wrote, translated by Emma Niemi, and signed my name. I hope the paper prints it. Friday, November 21st. My head still hurts, but the long talk afterward with Mr. Edwards made my heart hurt less. It was already dark when I left the store at closing time. Mr. Edwards told me he had a bit of bookkeeping to do and that I should tell Mrs. Edwards he would be home in a little while. Most of the snow from the blizzard has melted, but the slushy puddles freeze again as soon as the sun goes down. I was about halfway back to Mr. Edwards' house when I noticed someone following me. I quickened my pace. Then the taunting started. Redfin, send you to the coal bin. It was that awful James Richards. He did not stop with words this time. He jumped on me and pushed me into a slushy puddle. He rubbed my face right in it. I screamed. He kept pushing. The ice cut my face and the frigid water soaked right through my coat. Just as suddenly, someone grabbed James. You good-for-nothing pile of horse manure, I heard. If I ever catch you doing this to Miss Niemi or any other girl again, I won't bother to tell your father. I'll thrash you myself. It was Mr. Edwards. He held James by the ear with one hand and helped me up with the other. You will apologize this instant, he told James. James looked at the street and muttered, sorry. Not good enough, Mr. Edwards said. He pulled on James' ears harder, and James began to cry. Repeat after me. Miss Niemi, James said in a dry whisper. I have forgotten my manners, and I'm acting like an idiot. Please forgive me. James actually repeated it. My mouth dropped open, and I nodded. Mr. Edwards gave him a kick in the pants. Now get out of my sight, you sorry excuse of a young man. Mr. Edwards helped me walk into the house and called to Mrs. Edwards. She held up her hand to her mouth when she saw me. Mr. Edwards explained while Mrs. Edwards helped me out of my coat and upstairs to the bathroom. She called in Maud to draw me a hot bath while she dressed the cut on my face. Dinner was very late, and I did not serve it. I warmed my bones in the tub of hot water. Maud brought me a cup of tea, fresh towels, and clean clothes. After I dressed and came down to the kitchen, Maud gave me a dinner plate she had kept warm. I'll be up in our room if you want to talk later, she said. I thanked her and tried to eat a little. Mr. Edwards came into the kitchen. Are you feeling better? He asked. I nodded and said, I don't understand why he hates me so. I told him about some of the things that had happened in school and how James used to come down the alley during the fall and tease me. Let me tell you about him. James's grandfather and my father came from Cornwall, England, on the same boat. They both dug tons of rock out of the Central mine back in the 80s. They were good miners, so when Central shut down, CNH hired them, and by 1900, both of them were captains. They vowed their son should have a better life, so they saved every extra penny to send us to college. My father sent me to the University of Michigan to learn about business. James's grandfather sent his father over to Houghton to the Michigan College of Mines. James's father spends his days telling CNH how to improve machines and get more work out of the men. Suddenly, everything made perfect sense, but all I could say was, Oh. Mr. Edwards put his hand gently on my back. No matter what James thinks of this strike or your family, he has no right to hurt you as he did. If he ever bothers you again, even with taunts, I want to know about it. Yes, sir, thank you, I said. He left then, and as I finished my dinner, I remembered something my father and Mr. Huckala told us last year. They said that one day some college boy named of Richards had been down watching the two of them load tram cars. He watched and finally asked if either of them understood English. Little bit, my father had said. I'm sure the man used proper English, but here is how Papa told it. You load rock fast, good. I want watch you so other men do that way. Papa was not in a good mood that day, so he had said, You want me load more fast? Pay better. I load real fast. Richards is a very common name in Red Jacket. I did not realize it until tonight, but that man must have been James Richards' father. Thursday, November 27th. I know we celebrate Thanksgiving because the Pilgrims were thankful that they had enough food in a new land, but it's hard to think about being thankful this year. At the beginning of the strike, I wanted to get the arguing over with. Now, I just wish the whole thing would end. Another striking man is in the hospital today and might die. Papa told us he saw the whole thing from a little way off. Some men from the militia came very close to the WFM hall on 6th Street. Our men did not want them so close and started to beat up one of the guards. Papa said there was a lot of confusion and other soldiers fired shots to help the soldier who was beaten. I wonder if that soldier is thankful that somebody might die because he came too close to the Union Hall. I wonder if the man who was shot is thankful for anything. I got to come home to be with my family for the day. Maud does not have any family, so she stayed to serve Mr. and Mrs. Edwards their Thanksgiving dinner. They had turkey and dressing and pumpkin pie. I think I know why they are thankful. I wonder if Maud is thankful for her job with them. The meat from the buck Mutty shot earlier this fall is all gone. All the other deer are hiding or somebody else shot them. Our dinner was rabbit moika and thimbleberry maravilla. There was enough for one bowl for everyone, but no second helpings. There was nothing left over. I am thankful that Papa stays away from danger at the parades and has not gotten hurt. Even though the paper never printed his name, I am thankful to be working and have plenty to eat. But I feel guilty that I eat so well while my family often goes hungry. Mr. and Mrs. Edwards are very kind to me, and I have learned a lot about keeping house. Mrs. Edwards corrects my English sometimes, but my grammar has gotten better because of it. I have been able to keep up with my schooling, but sometimes I wonder, what is the point? Will I always be stuck working as a maid? I should be thankful, but sometimes I am not. A lot of the snow has melted for the moment, but the ground is frozen and bare. The trees are gray and the houses are gray and the sky is gray, but my heart feels gray, and it is only the beginning of winter.